Hello YouTube, example 100,000 here, otherwise known as iCookie or iDragonite, bringing you another poker video. So I know I haven't made a video in a very long time, and today while grinding a bit of Razz, I encountered some stuff which was pretty damn unusual. Basically a really good run. So if you don't know what Razz is, it's basically stud. If you know what that is, you get dealt 7 cards in total. You start off with 3 and then eventually you add 1 at a time until you get 7. The first 2 cards don't get shown to your opponent, and your last card doesn't get shown to your opponent. And it's fixed limits, so you're not unlike no limit holder, we can't bet however much you want. It's a fixed amount that you can bet. So the best hand would be made by the lowest 5 cards, including an ace. And straights and flushes don't count, so it's a pretty simple game in my opinion. So let's get straight into this hand, the first hand that I'm going to show you. So I get dealt 2, 3, 4, which is one of the best starting hands possible, since the best possible hand is ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I give it a raise. And this guy with a queen calls me, which is pretty unusual because a queen is a pretty bad starting card to be showing your opponent. So yeah, I have a better hand than him, so I bet, and then yeah, I get a 9, and I still know I definitely have a better hand than him, so I make another bet, and this person decides to call again. So it makes me think that he might have some like really good hand like underneath, maybe an ace and 2, something like that, which is why he keeps betting, except I know that my hand is still better than him because the best hand he could possibly have is ace, 2, 5, 8, queen. Whereas I already have a hand of 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, which is a really good hand already. So yeah, I give it another bet, and he decides to try and chase whatever he has underneath. And then yeah, the last card I get is an ace, so I have the best possible hand in Razz, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So of course I make another bet, hoping that he would call. I know for a fact that I have him beat, which is why a thing like in Razz I pretty enjoy it, because sometimes you know for a fact that you have beaten your opponent, because the best possible hand he could have is 1, 2, 3, 1 by ace. So ace, 2, 3, 5, 8, and I've got ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've definitely got him beat. So I make a bet, and he decides to fold. So I win the first part, which is around $37.50. So next consecutive hand, hopefully you didn't see what that was. I get ace, 3, 5, which is another one of the best possible starting hands. As I said, the best possible hand, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, which of course 3 of them include ace, 3, and 5. So I raise, and this guy decides to call. Getting a jack isn't a good card, except he got a king, which is even worse. So yeah, making a bet is fine. So I make another bet, and he decides to call again. And then the turn gives me the best possible hand again, 2 hands in a row, called the wheel. So ace, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. I know for a fact that I haven't beat again, so I bet, and then he knows to fold, which is pretty good. I got 2 nuts in a row, which is extremely rarely seen. And yeah, against the same victim, unfortunately for him. So on to the next hand. And the next hand I get 2, 6, 8, which is still a really good hand despite not having an ace, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there, because generally low that is under 8 is really good. So yeah, this guy makes a raise to an ace. My 2, 6, 8 is really good, so I decide to make it a raise, and then he just calls. So if he had if he had 2 cards under there which are lower, which are 5 and lower, both of them, he would have definitely re-raised, because that's the best possible starting hand, as I said before. So he gets a 10, which is unfortunate for him. It tells me that my hand is definitely better than him, and he doesn't know what I have underneath. And since I played so aggressively, for all he could know, I could have ace and a 2 underneath. So I make a bet, and he decides to call me. Is fine. I get a 2, which is actually a pretty bad card because it pairs me up, and you know, pairs aren't good in Razz, except he gets a jack, which looks really bad for him, and the 2 looks really good for me if I had like an ace and a 3 underneath. So I make a bet and he folds. So yeah, pick up another pot, $21, and on to the next hand. I get dealt 268 again, and yeah, as I said before, 268 is pretty damn good. These people fold, so I make a raise, and yeah, this person decides to re-raise me, seeing how I've raised 3 hands in a row. So yeah, he decides to re-raise me despite definitely having a worse starting hand than me, since he has a 9 showing, whereas I have 268, which is definitely better than him. So yeah, this guy folds, and I re-raise him knowing that my hand's definitely better. And he just makes a call. Unfortunately for him, he gets a king. I get a 10, which isn't that good, but still better than a king. So I get a 3, which is pretty good. So I make another bet. He makes another call. I get an ace, which is amazing because I've now got an ace 2, 3, 6, 8. Which is definitely better than him, because the best he could have is ace 2, 3, 4, 9. So I make another bet, and he decides to call me again, and on the last card I get a 7, which I improve my hand even more, ace 2, 3, 6, 7, and I decide to make a small value bet, and yeah, he pays me off, despite having a really pretty bad hand, ace 3, 5, 6, 9. So even if I didn't get that 7 on the last card, I would have still beaten him. And then the final hand, yeah, that's 4 hands I've won in a row. I get 3, 4, 5, which is one of the best starting hands again. So yeah, they fold, I make a raise, and then this person decides to call me again. So the queen's not good for me, so he makes a bet. I just call, and then I get a 9. So we both get a 9. It's not a very good card, but I still decide to make the call. Because if I get a low card such as this ace that I get, chances are that my hand is better than his. And the fact that he didn't re-raise after I raised tells me that, yeah, as I said before, chances are that these 2 cards aren't 5 or lower. So I get an ace, which is really good. He checks, and I decide to check behind because of the fact that yeah, he could possibly have some better hands underneath, and if I make a bet and he gets something good on the last card, then I'd lose more money. I didn't feel like it was worth betting it. And my last card's a queen, which is obviously terrible. It means that all I have is an ace 3, 4, 5, 9. And his hand looks like he could possibly beat me. Not very likely, so I was thinking if he makes a bet, I'll just call it. If he checks, I don't see the point in betting, because if I bet, I'm not really going to get a worse hand to call me. So yeah, he checks it, so I check behind, and yeah, I win 5 hands in a row. So I had an ace 3, 4, 5, 9. He had a 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So despite his last card improving his hand, yeah, he made a good check there, because if he bet, I would have called and I would have beaten him nonetheless, and he would have lost another $6. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. A pretty yeah, that was a really, really fortunate session for me that I really enjoyed. If you haven't played Razz before, you should definitely try it out. It's not a difficult game to learn. And yeah, it's just a really fun game to learn, I guess. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel, and if I get enough support, I'll definitely keep pushing out more of these videos.